What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's Top 3. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the hottest recent cardistry releases, but before we jump into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And ring the bell.
I gotta say, Steve, I'm really excited for today's video. I think there's so much variation between cardistry brands these days. It's really exciting to see them kind of in a showdown-style comparison.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different elements that you can use in cardistry, so it's cool to see these three head-to-head.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a really interesting one. Definitely excited to see what comes in at number 1 this week. So, why don't you start us off with number 3?
Number 3 is the Mains playing cards, and it is printed by USPCC on their premium stock. It is a print run of 2,500 and sells for $10.
Nice, man. That's a steal. Let's check this thing out.
Yeah. It does have a standard tuck box, and I'm a really big fan of the muted pink and blue with that nice shadow effect in the back. As you can see on the bottom of the tuck, it does say 1 of 5,000, but that's just a print error. It actually is 2,500.
I agree. For a standard tuck, they really do a great job with bringing some depth to it there.
Yeah, I like those 9 square elements. I'd like to see how those fare with like spinning moves with cardistry. It handles beautifully, being a USPCC premium stock, and the fan is super cool with just that like minimal hints of color kind of peeking through that shadow.
Nice.
I'd like to see maybe even a thinner border. There's your duplicate jokers, other than obviously the difference in colors with the blue and the pink. You have a standard enlarged pit for spades. They did take the standard court cards and just recolor them using the colors that were on the back design. It's relatively standard across the whole deck, other than you have your enlarged pips on the aces. I really get lost in the court cards. The muted colors, they really don't contrast each other for me, so I kind of get lost in those faces on the court cards.
Yeah, there is a little bit of like depth that seems to be lacking there just because of the muted aspect to it. The colors really are great, but it would have been interesting to see it a little more pop to it for the court cards.
Yeah, maybe just a little more black through the faces, and it would have been a little easier for me to look at.
Yeah. Now, all things considered, though, those colors are really interesting.
Yeah, they are. Typical. Well, not typical. Sorry. It has an ad card that says mainsplayingcards.com and a double backer as well.
Nice. I really would have liked to see too that 9 square design on some of those enlarged aces. I think it would have made a much more interesting opportunity there. But like you mentioned earlier, I'm excited to see what this actually looks like in motion for cardistry in comparison to the usual central circular element that we always see.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it, it's kind of like a one-way fan. If you're a lefty, you get a different fan than you would if you're a righty.
Yeah, which is really cool and always fun, especially with those fanning elements we see added to cardistry decks. So definitely a nice start off for the week. And coming in at number 2, we have the Roasters playing cards from Organic Playing Cards. Printed by USPCC on their premium crush stock, this deck is part of a 3,500 print run and retails for $11.95. Let's check this thing out, man. I gotta say, I think they did a great job capturing that bag of coffee vibe with this deck and this tuck here. The one thing I wish here they used a matte paper instead of a semi-gloss. I think it would have added a little bit more to the theme. But you have those fun little brewing instructions on the back. You have all these little aspects that really get you in the mindset of coffee as a theme, which OPC always crushes at. As you can see, there's also that traditional USPCC registration there, which is just epically bad, but handles...
Is that what traditionally cut means?
At this point, feels like it. But handles, fans, and springs like a dream fresh out of the box, being that premium crush stock. You see a little fumble there. My spring threw me off as to which side the Joker went up. But the cool thing is you have a reveal right on the second Joker there with a 5 of diamonds reveal. And it's actually one of 2 reveals in the deck. One of the things I really like about this too is the fact that OPC went with this really like dark chocolatey brown for the traditionally black suits, which sets you again into that coffee mindset. And then for any of the traditionally red suits, you actually have this kind of like latte foam color, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that dark chocolate.
Yeah, And then, of course, in OPC fashion, you have the fun little court cards throughout it. So some of the kings are making coffee. That king of clubs there had donuts on his sword. There's one later on which has, you know, a tray of coffee cups in their hand. And all this fun little stuff. You can see how rich that brown really is, though. And then, obviously, you can see how, like, nice and almost like golden kind of milk foam that traditionally red suit color is. And then the king there obviously had a croissant. And this is actually the fun second reveal here. The Queen of Hearts has a picture of the King of Hearts on his coffee mug, similar to what you would have seen back in the day for, like, Christmas gifts people would get for their boyfriends and girlfriends, significant others with their face on it. And then we have a nice double back here and a duplicate 5 of diamonds, which ties into that Joker reveal on the front. Sadly, even the double backer has poor registration on both sides.
Yeah, they're just not going to fix it. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of the game with USPCC now.
Yeah, that's for sure. I have noticed on the bottom of the tuck box it says 3rd edition. So I'm wondering if they're going to pull a Star Wars and come out with edition 1 and 2 after.
Who knows? At this point, I'm curious. I know Cam has mentioned that there probably will be other coffee decks, and I'm wondering if, you know, this was planned originally as the 3rd, and they decided to go first with it, and they forgot to change the copy on the bottom. There's so many reasons. I'd love to find out, though. Cam, let us know what the reason for that 3rd edition on the bottom is, though.
Yeah, give us a scoop.
And Steve, I'm excited for this one. What's coming in at number 1 this week, man?
Number 1 is Fontaines and Kogan Cult collaboration.
Iceman.
This is printed by USPCC on their premium crush stock. It is a print run of 5,000 and retails for $20.
Nice, man. Let's check this thing out.
Yeah. This tuck box is definitely not your standard Fontaine. It is a matte tuck, and it does have embossing on it, so that mask on the front really pops off and has some really good detail.
That's dope.
Yeah. Now that brick back detail is really cool. If you look on the back design of the cards, you'll see this really cool fire element.
Nice.
And when you kind of riffle through the deck, that fire element actually spells out Kogan, which I thought is really, really creative. You know, not something that we normally see from Fontaine. Not creative side, but like just the variation in the back.
You know, that's a dope look to it. I always love to see these like high visibility art collabs that he does, because I feel like these decks always go next level.
Yeah, they really do. You know, these two Jokers here, they make me feel like this is a Halloween deck, you know, diving into it. The two like Frankenstein hands, but fully custom. Super impressed with this deck. It definitely is an arcade video game style comic book inspired deck for me. You know, and I like those hand-drawn pips with the little kind of scratched out spots on them.
It almost has a vibe like if you were to like ink this card as like an ink illustration when you're filling in how you kind of like miss little spots here and there. Adds that like
totally.
That hand-drawn aspect to it.
And I am gonna say this and age myself, but this deck totally gives me the feel of He-Man and Masters of the Universe.
I could see that, man. There's definitely that vibe to it. It's got that kind of look with the battle axes and the characters and the attire and everything.
Yeah, I mean, even like the vest, like the kind of like the not metallic, but the metal vests that you'll see in other court cards. But this is such a fun deck. It's really cool seeing a full customized deck coming out of Fontaine. Yeah. Look there's He-Man, dude.
I get a kick out of it too, because based on what you saw on the front of the tuck box, which really kind of reminded me more of like Cyclops from the X-Men, I was expecting more of that vein of it, but like you said, it really has that like He-Man vibe throughout.
Yeah, and here's, you look at the little kind of, I mean, I guess you call it a vest, but that's kind of like the pieces that, were in the He-Man sets.
It's a bandolier.
But, these two ad cards are kind of like little comic sections.
Yeah, I like that, man.
Super cool. I mean, I'm really impressed with this deck. Handles beautifully being a USP crush deck. When he does these collaborations, it's always exciting to see which direction he's going to go. Is it going to be to the extreme and really crazy, or is it just going to be like a recolor with some little added detail?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, it is always hit or miss in those aspects, and You know, personally, even for people out there who aren't necessarily Fontaine fans, if anyone were to ever ask me what are 2 Fontaines you'd have to get your hands on, it's going to be this one and the dabs for me. Like, no question
Yeah,
about it.
100%.
Both
Yeah.
great looking decks. A lot of thought and design went into it, and it really is just fun looking. That artwork is awesome. And from a cardistry point of view, those bright contrasting colors of the white, blue, and red on the back design are going to look great in motion.
Yeah, and you know they're not the same too. So just seeing them move throughout whatever movement you're doing, it's going to be really
Yeah, that might also be frustrating for someone once the first time you shuffle and they're out of order and now it no longer looks correct. But I still do think it's going to be a very cool look to it while in motion. I think Zach did a great job with this one. I hope to see him continue to do more of these high art collabs where it really comes in and redesigns the entire deck instead of just making it, you know, a Fontaine recolor.
Yeah, no, I think it's fun, and the fact that you know he came in and did a different tuck box and you know a matte tuck box with some cool embossing on it was really.
Yeah, embossing's a first for him, isn't it, on this one, or is it maybe?
I mean, don't quote me, but I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like this might have been his first deck with an embossed tuck, and I think they did a great job with it. So definitely kudos to him on that one. And before we forget, this week's winner of the comment from last week's video is Nathan. Congratulations, Nathan. Check out his comment down below, and make sure to leave a comment of your own down below on this video, letting us know which of these 3 decks was your favorite for the week. Next week, we'll be picking a random winner to give a shout out to on this week's top 3. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.